I've got Sarah Tudzin here from Illuminati Hotties, and we're just about to have a lovely chat. Sarah, usually I ask how did the band come together in these sort of situations, but for you, I've got a three-parter. Um,
Cool.
uh, why did you begin, or why is probably the wrong, how did you begin as an engineer, and then how did you get motivated as an engineer to start a band, and then how did you bring the band together?
Well, I started engineering and getting into production when I was in college. And luckily the college I went to, I had access to gear that I had never really known existed even before. And so I got really involved in the production and engineering major in college and practiced and recorded as many friends as I could get in the studio and continued to do that. And so the band then um started partially as just like because I'm a writer as well and wanted to write songs and have a vehicle for performing them, but also as a way to just like showcase my production skills and kind of say like, hey, I made a record, it sounds like this, and as a way of sort of like meeting other bands and like proving that I could put together a record in a way that like hopefully other bands would want to hire me.
So was that pretty immediate? Like did you start producing and say, okay, if I'm going to perform this, I need to, put a band together, sort of thing, and away we go? Or did you have thoughts about producing other people's work predominantly? You had that performer bug in you, did you?
I did, but I also like have, I started coming at music really as well, as first as a musician, but and a writer too, I guess. But the dream was always like making other people's records, and I love to perform. And I've since grown to love it a lot more, but before it was like a bit of like a stage fright thing for me. And so I definitely made the record first without like really thinking about that it would then become, a big part, touring would become such a big part of my life.
Well, having said that, what's the journey been like since? Because, most of the time, a lot of people start and they go for, 3, 4, 5 albums and 10 years, and all of a sudden they get discovered. Or some people start and they're, within 6 months they're shooting, especially with social media these days. What's your
Yeah.
you've been pretty successful. What's the journey been like? So
I've just tried to put my head down and keep and make as much music as I can with with my own project and with other people. And I kind of feel like in a way I'm just at the beginning, and this will be my fourth record as Illuminati Hotties, but each time I put out an album, the sound changes and the vibe of the live show changes and like what I'm interested in writing about changes. And all along, I'm lucky that I'm able to like stay employed in the studio, making other people's stuff. So, luckily, one part of my job has continually fed the other and vice versa, which has been really nice, but it's been slow and steady, which as far as I'm concerned, like I think that flags sort of like a longevity in career if I can continue to just build over the course of my life.
yeah, I think that's right. Um, I noticed you donated the proceeds to People Pleaser, to a suicide prevention cause. That's a pretty conscious thing to do. Any particular reason for that? Were you connected to someone you lost, or was it just something that you felt for, or because that's a pretty, consciousness in this ego minded, especially artist sort of environment, doesn't usually come till for most people until later when they've sort of fallen over a few times and learned to sort of stand up a bit differently. So, what was that all about?
Totally. Like that's such an important organization out here. Specifically, it's suicide prevention in the queer community. And I think, a lot of queer people who experience bullying because of their gender presentation or their sexual orientation, um, don't have the resources to protect themselves. And so that felt like a an organization that it felt close to my heart in that I've known people who have struggled sort of as a result of like wanting to fit into the greater communities around them. But it's just sort of been an evergreen establishment out here in the US.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You know, those sorts of places are tortures for people as they're trying to work out, you know, how to go down their path. So,
Totally.
well done. I appreciate that. How would you describe your sound? Why do you think fans have resonated so much to your music?
Yeah, I've just branded it as tender punk since the beginning, which is like it has a punk aesthetic and I guess like a punk attitude maybe more so. But it's sweet and it's tender and there's emotional um depth in a way that like the punk that I grew up on I wish had that because I did grow up on sort of like um an era of punk that was hard and that was fun, but was maybe you had to like scratch. It was only scratching the surface of sort of like music that emotionally impacted me, in a more soft way. And so, yeah, I've just sort of like lived by that ethos for a long time of like being punk, but keeping emotional like gentleness in mind.
Uh-huh. In 2021, you partnered with Hopeless Records to create Snack Shack Tracks. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, that's something we like to do is, you know, make words that sort of rhyme. Nifty title. Where did that come from? The nifty title, and was that to coincide with the second album? The
Yeah. Snack Shack has always been just kind of what I've called like my moving studio space. Like, it's as I've moved from house to house and location to location, Snack Shack sort of remains the name of like my recording environment. And so um I don't know, it really just reminds me of like being a kid and like I used to, if I was like I played it's hard for me to say I played sports, but I like was a little bit involved in athletics as like a young kid, and they always had a snack shack and a place you could get water bottle or like, you know, bubble gum or whatever. And so yeah, it just kind of stuck and it's my Wi-Fi network name. It's,
you're gonna get a
it's now the
song.
label name too.
You're gonna get a song like, you know, Love Shack Baby, except Snack Shack.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
national song that sort of drives everyone to you.
Yeah. I mean, God, I hope.
Okay, your new album Power is about to be released. I think the 23rd over here, which is probably, you know, the 22nd or the 24th over there. What's its
Mhm.
origin? What's it all about?
Really so much. It's about, sort of how we observe power, how we hold power, how we wield power, the ways that power is out of our control. Um, and
Individuals or hierarchy. When you say how we
you,
wield power, you're saying from every perspective, or you're talking about us as individuals?
I mean, it's individual, a lot of it. There's a bit of celestial, like sort of like, I dealt with grief leading up to the making of this album. I dealt with love. I dealt with like just sort of the widest range of emotions and duality on either side and nothing that felt very middle ground to me. Everything felt really extreme while I was making this album. And um so I do think that there is an element of individual power as well as just sort of like a, the unmistakable like forces of how the universe sort of hands us life.
The universe, consciousness, us,
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the signature tracks and which are your favorites to play live? What are the ones that the fans need to look out for because you're gonna, you know, really, hit them home?
Yeah, well, I will say we haven't played too many of them live yet. We're about to go out on tour at the end of at the end of September this year. Um but we got to play Didn't live, which I thought really went off and the crowd I felt the energy in the crowd kind of explode when we launched into that track. The L I think is going to be really fun live.
Uh-huh.
The title track Power, the song Falling in Love with Somebody Better has been really fun to practice and rehearsal. I'm excited. I mean, I feel like the whole album is like really kind of shaping up in the live setting now as I've been rehearsing it with the band. And so I'm excited to kind of like finally play it in front of people.
We're looking forward to it as well. Also, you said this is your fourth album. I thought there was three. There's four, is there? Because I thought you'd sort of paced it, every 3 years you come out with an album, and you sort of got a cycle there on the wall that sort of gets ticked off. In 27, I've got to do a new album. No, it's not
I
that.
wish. I wish. I wish it was more structured than that. But there was an album called Free IH that came out in between, and it was sort of like it was couched as like a mixtape basically, but
Oh, okay.
it's like 12 songs. They're shorties and they're fast
Album.
and fun. But I made that one as sort of a way to like get out of a record deal that was a bit of a sinking ship at the time. So but it kind of like was made very quickly and came out before Let Me Do One More, which was already finished, but I didn't really want it to be released on this label that was like not in a place to do that record justice at the time, I thought.
If Taylor Swift has to record her music again and put, made by Taylor Swift on it, you know that record deals aren't the easiest thing. Good record deals aren't the easiest thing to come by most of the time. So I can
It's
understand that.
tough. It's tough for sure.
So you've got what tours and events are coming up? You said you're going out
So
like
yeah, I've got a headline tour in the fall that is US. And then at the top of
all
2020,
across, or how many dates you doing?
oof, it's a lot. It's like
A
about
lot.
5 weeks. Yeah.
Good,
So
good.
it's US and Canada. And then in February, we'll be doing some of the West Coast with an artist called Cave Town,
Yeah,
opening
yeah,
up
yeah.
for them.
Okay, town.
Yeah, great. Cave
Okay,
Town is on a song on the record, and he was nice
yeah,
enough to bring us along.
yeah.
And then hopefully, nothing is announced yet for the rest of 2025, but I'm imagining that we'll get out to Europe. We'll do the US again probably in a couple different ways, and hopefully Australia. I've
You've got
tried,
the
but
best fans in the world.
I know it.
Everyone I've spoken to, I do interviews all the time. They all say that 40 years they've been coming here. They all say this is the best place in the world. For, I don't know, we must have a particular type of fan that's just a bit crazy or just a bit loose or just a bit free, or maybe they're well tanned or something or other. There's something about
Oh
them
yeah.
that they love it. So yeah, we'd love you to come out. So make sure you do
I'd
so.
love to get out there. There's a lot of Australians in LA and y'all are good people.
It's a long way, and there's so many things that can happen, and you've got a career, so it's hard to sort of fit in this long trip. And we've had some difficulty in the last year with some headliners that pulled out, and
Yeah.
some festivals that had to stop or change or whatever. So it's not an
Right.
easy sort of a thing, and we can understand that. Especially you've got to sell tickets, and so you got
Of
to
course.
coming out. You got to make sure that you can afford to come out. Um,
Absolutely.
okay. Having said that, if you can perform with any music artist, alive or dead, not that they're dead when you're performing, by the way, but I'm just saying, calling they're dead, who would you choose and why?
Well, I kind of feel like my top two that I've like sort of that I would be absolutely horrified to perform with, by the way, because I would just be so nervous. But I think kind of like Prince is an all-timer for me.
Oh,
Um, and Bjork at the
really?
other
York?
spectrum. I
Why?
love her music. I love it.
Really?
Oh yeah, she's so brilliant as a writer and a producer, and I hope I get to meet her someday.
That's an interesting choice. Not that she's not worthy. I mean, she's very worthy. But Prince is obviously a straightforward one. How about Freddie? Wouldn't you love to jump around on stage with Freddie? That'd be pretty cool too, I presume.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I feel
So
like
many.
OG Fugazi lineup could be cool.
Yeah, there's so
Like,
many. There's so many.
yeah,
What are your long-term aspirations still? You've been going for just under 10 years, I suppose. What are
yeah,
your what are your long-term aspirations? And especially with there's such a difference between 40, 30 years ago and social media and all this sort of stuff today and
yeah.
streaming and all that sort of gear. What are your long-term aspirations as a music artist, as a producer?
I'd love to just level up to the next size of venues and play some bigger festivals. I feel like short term that sounds cool. I'd love to like have a platinum record. I kind of feel like that's the all-time goal for me is like it's so meaningful in that many people chose to listen to your music and that's kind of what it's about, is connecting with the people.
Well, you've got a vehicle, so basically, you've got a following and all that sort of stuff. If people on OnlyFans can do it, being a little bit, the other side, a bit whatever. I mean, there's a vehicle to be able to sort of, push what you are. So I can see
I
that.
think so.
I can see that coming to fruition. With that in
Yeah.
mind, what piece of advice would you give now that you've done what you've done and you've got a bit of fear at the start and you've still got a bit of fear, all that sort of stuff? What advice would you give any artist that was sort of listening to this and thinking about, the next step?
I think the most important thing is just to create every day, even if it's just a little bit, like being in a daily practice of creation, and allows for inspiration to happen. And if you're not inspired, at least you'll have made a little thing that maybe at some point you'll be inspired to finish.
That's good advice. Okay, now I'm going to finish. I've got about a dozen odd quick questions, but three stupid ones and then 9 really stupid ones. Not really, but what's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Craziest thing I've ever done.
The FBI are listening in, by the way.
What is the craziest thing I've ever done? That is such a hard question. I kind of feel like I don't know if I've like done anything like super crazy that's like compared to the craziest things I've heard people do. Like I've not like gone skydiving or anything, but I don't know. I feel like there's been a couple tattoo or piercings that I've like done on a whim, and or in a green room
Yeah.
backstage somewhere, that I was later like, that was a spontaneous decision.
You've got plenty of openings for crazy then. So the next time we interview you, can tell me what's the one topic you can talk about for hours?
Oh man. I mean, really so many things, but I think like just being an engineer, like gear world is fascinating to me, and it extends beyond like music gear. Like I'll go through a coffee gear obsession, or like backpacks, and it just, I'll zone in, and I have to like set boundaries for myself. Like there's certain hobbies that I know I can't get into because I'll become like a gear nut
Oh,
about it,
that,
and
that
then
that must have started before music. Then you must have had a bit of a penchant for that sort of stuff before.
yeah, I think I've had a bit of a tinkering mindset.
What's the thing you like most about yourself?
Oh, that's a sweet question. I'm gonna say determination. I feel not, I don't feel discouraged by a lot of things. I feel mostly like there's always a sort of like a path to, let's say success, but like there's a path to like getting to a place that it is copacetic for yourself and everyone around you.
Do you meditate?
What's that?
Do you meditate?
Yeah. I do actually.
I think
I
I think it's the most important thing a human can do in terms of creation. It basically, you know, clears away the path so that you can move into you. Oh, that's good.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that started, it's not common, and not a common thing a lot of times in younger people, let's say.
Mhm.
It started early with you or
Yeah, I think so. I just kind of felt like I've been a problem solver for a long time, and you know, you don't always get what you want, certainly, but there is sort of like a way to figure out like a good solution always.
look, we live in a crazy world of external influence, and basically meditation potentially closes that out so that you can just get back to you and then work out what you're going to do. And without that, this constant barrage of stuff that comes from the outside, you're talking about, the suicide prevention and all that sort of stuff. There's so much crap that's coming in all the time that it's really hard to find yourself in today's world with this bloody social media. But anyhow,
So
that's
true.
good. That's a good thing. All right, here we go. We're going to finish on some favorites and we're done. Favorite
Okay.
album?
God, these questions are hard. Every time somebody asks me favorite album, I'm like stumped, and I feel like I've never answered it the same way. Um, Favorite album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by Blink 182.
Oh, well, Blink, that's a good album. That's a great album.
Yeah.
Favorite artist?
Favorite artist? I'm gonna say, well, can I just say someone that has inspired me like through the writing of this album
Absolutely.
a lot?
Absolutely.
I got a lot of inspiration and continue to get inspiration from Adam Schlesinger and Fountains of Wayne type stuff that he was into. He can make a song about anything sound like a hit, and I really admire him for that.
That's fantastic. Favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Top Gun, the original one.
Really?
I don't know why. I love it.
I used to, when surround sound just came out,
Uh-huh.
the speakers up the back and all this sort of stuff, and people had come around and you used to say, "Listen to this," because you had the, first surround sound and you had your
Yeah.
set up and all that sort of stuff, and you put on the start of that, all the sound. It was absolutely magnificent. It was a
Oh
great.
yeah.
But did you like the follow up?
I did actually. I thought it was really fun.
No, he's for all the people that get stuck into him, he's pretty cool. Favorite
Yeah.
favorite place to visit?
I actually went on my honeymoon recently and we went to Mallorca, which was like the coolest
Ah,
place I think I'll ever be in my life, probably.
well, it's been that for about a million years too, so that's cool.
It's so cool.
Favorite venue to play?
I you know, I love playing I'm playing Terragram in LA again and I love playing there. I love the Sinclair in Boston. And I hope I get to play Hollywood Bowl. That's kind of like a bucket list
That's the
venue for
one.
me.
That's the one you're
Yeah.
looking forward to. Move up.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Favorite food?
Burritos.
Burritos. God bless Mexican. Favorite drink?
Um, I like a nice shitty beer.
What does that mean?
Just like a gross, like I don't know, y'all have Fosters in Australia, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Foster's.
Like we have Tecate or like Corona, something that's like light and ice cold.
Lemon or lime? What do you put in it?
Lemon.
Lemon. Uh,
Well, in beer, lime, I guess.
Favorite person in history? If
Um,
you've met me, you can say me. You're allowed to because you've met me.
I
But
mean, right on, my man.
favorite person in history. Who do you go to when you think about when you're talking about stuff? Or a lot of people will go to a Mandela thing or a Buddhist thing or it could be a dad thing. My dad said or my grandfather or there's a favorite person that you sort of it's a go-to person in conversations. Do you have one or?
That's so sweet. I honestly don't know. I'm coming up blank here. I kind of feel it, like there's so much. I'd prefer to choose someone, I guess, who's alive, um, who I know personally.
Could be, absolutely.
I'm gonna say my grandma.
Grandma. You know,
Yeah.
that's terrific. That's terrific.
Yeah.
When you say you've got no kids yet, you just got married, did you?
Yes.
So you having
No.
kids?
Maybe one day. I don't know. Not
Well, I
quickly.
was just going to say that when you get to, I'm a grandparent myself. When you get to grandparent, you realise that parenting was just, it was like, grade. It was like the lower grade stuff. You think you were a great parent, and then all of a sudden you become a grandparent, and it's like you put a blanket around you and something on your head, and you just sit there and you're just wiser than wise, and you're just directive, patient, and you've got everything, and you're just smiling, and you just become a different sort of animal. So,
Incredible. I
so
love it.
it's a great thing. All right, now final question: tattoos. You said you've got tattoos. What's
I
the
do.
favorite?
What's my favorite one?
Yeah.
I've got the first tattoo I ever got was just it's right here. It's just a little triangle.
Yeah.
Um, Sort of in Illuminati Hotties style, and I think I like it because I just look at it if I like reach for something, it's visible, and I'm like, oh yeah.
You'd be surprised. I ask that question, and most of the time, someone comes back with something small, someone's name, something like that. They might have a sleeve, they might be full, but they come back with something that really means something down there.
Yeah.
Wow, Sarah, I never know what to find when these things occur, and when they happen, I really want to have a 2 hour conversation and get really down deep and do a like a in the actor's studio and have cards and sort of say who was your father, who was your mother, and all that sort of stuff. But I never quite get to, but you know, it's like in the quantum, you always feel connected and like you want to find out a little bit more because you know you've just discovered something and you've got 20 minutes and you've got to stop and it's all over and that's it, you know, and then I'll just read about your publicity for the next 5 years. So well done. Thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
I hope the record goes really well and
Thank you.
all power to you. All power
Thank you
to
so
everybody.
much. I love the Simpsons cell back there.
Well, actually, she signed it too.
No
Cartwright.
way.
She
Nancy
did.
Cartwright?
Yeah, Nancy Cartwright up there.
Wow. Icon.
Yeah, she is an icon. Well, they're icons. Well, actually, just before you go, you got to go. But in 1990 or 89 or 88, I used to watch the Tracy Ullman show.
Uh-huh.
And in between the skits, they had this really stick figure animation that was like the start of The Simpsons. And he was like, Homer was getting Bart and sticking him in a bloody, drowning him in something or other. And you were saying, what? No, you can't do that. You know, you're a father and all this stuff was going on. And I used to say to everyone, you've got to catch this thing. It's just mad. And then all of a sudden it came out and then, 400 years later, it's the greatest bloody animation that's ever been.
Still going.
That's what happens. That's what happens. You know, when you're old enough, you've seen everything start and finish and create and all that sort of stuff. Anyhow, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And good luck with everything. And,
Thank you.
We'll keep pumping you around while we exist and while we, keep doing what we do.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Namaste.
Bye.
All the best.